Genesis 27:37. And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him thy lord, and of all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. What shall I do now unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, my dwelling shall be the... Salakia, got a virus in my phone. Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and the dew of the heaven from above, and by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, and thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said unto in his heart, The days of mourning my father are at hand, then I will slay my brother Jacob. All right. Call hello, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahushai Bahasham, Wakaha Kwadash. Double honors into the apostles, double honors into the elder bishops.
Is the
salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. The scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners among the heathen that look like those heathen. This is not a black thing. And to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone, coming at you with a quick lesson. And, I read Genesis 27:37 through 40, which was a blessing that Isaac, who, if you have proper understanding, you know that Isaac came back as Yahushua in Matthew 1:1. And the same person that gave Esau his blessing is going to be the same one to take it from him. And Esau got the dominion. All right, his dominion was interrupted, and then he got it back. But now we're at the end of Esau's dominion. And it said clearly, by the sword he shall live. As a matter of fact, you're looking at a sword, a form of a sword. And through his might, through violence, Esau has ruled and dominated the earth. All right, in the short time that he's been, it's been a little bit over 500 years, and the air is almost unbreathable, the water is almost undrinkable, the food is definitely uneatable, and there's nothing but sickness, misery, death, war, and pain. All right, because in this man, this all happened on his watch, and the name of this video will probably be Shameful, Spewing upon His Glory. So let's go to Revelation 6:4. And it reads, And there went out another horse that was red. All right, and Esau, as you can look at Scott Ritter, he's red. He's not really white. They self-proclaim themselves as white. They're actually red. They're the red. Not Native Americans were swarthy, tawny people, from a light brown like myself all the way to even a chocolate, brown. Some natives were. All right. Especially now that we have the technology to regenerate, to restore the color to these 100-plus-year-old, 150-year-old photos prove that they were brown. Okay, when it was red on them, it was paint. But this man, his skin appears to be red because of his blood shows forth through it. You can see his blood under his skin. So they get red face, red neck. It's not just it's their hands, their back. They come out red, especially when they're born. All right. But it says Revelation 6:4, And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given unto him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another, and there should be given unto him a great sword. All right, and his greatest sword was the, Oppenheimer helped to finish it. All right, and the Lord gave it unto him. He said he created the smith that created the waster. Oppenheimer said something to the effect that he had become the destroyer, the destroyer of worlds. All All right, and this video is Scott Ritter update ICC's bold move to arrest basically Israeli leaders and Ukraine leaders. So this is this is basically the NATO and EU and the West is all falling apart. Shameful spewing is upon their glory. Benjamin Netanyahu needs this war to continue to save him from justice from his own people. All right, from his own Edomites in the country where he is, because Edom has prescribed the Holy Land to themselves and are claiming to be the people. All right, and then the Edomites abroad in this part of the West and in Eurasia, in the portion of Europe, in the portion of Asia that they call Europe. All right, so without any further ado, Scott Ritter, y'all.
Is the publicly announced decision of the prosecutor at the International
And now forget the judge. Scott Ritter is being interviewed by this judge. I forget his name, but here we go.
Criminal Court to ask a panel of 3 judges to accept an indictment of Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Minister Gallant and 3 leaders of Hamas and to issue arrest warrants for them. Wow. What's your take on this? Does this have any geopolitical effect? Is there any PR effect? Is there any effect on the freedom of these 5 guys?
Well, I mean, in theory, if the court issues the warrants, then people who are parties to the statute will be obligated to arrest anybody named in the warrant should they fall in their jurisdiction. I mean,
so this won't be the first time a sitting president or prime minister has been named or has been given over. There was warrants out for George Bush and in certain parts of the world as well. All right. This is Mark 3:23. And he called them unto him and said unto them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. If a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand. All right. Just like, Edward Snowden and Julian Assange rose up and told the truth and have been labeled as enemies of the state. All right. That going to tell that Psalm 64 spirit, 64:8 spirit is heavy among Esau right now with this whistleblowing thing. All right. And, when a whistleblower exposes a crime, that whistleblower should be celebrated. But instead, in America, in democracy, within this democracy, when a whistleblower exposes crimes and wrongdoing, that whistleblower is tainted and treated as a criminal, such as Julian Assange, which they're going to talk about. But let's digress. I'm going to let them speak now.
We've seen, in the case of Vladimir Putin, nations like South Africa basically cautioned him away from attending the BRICS summit last year because they said they would be obligated to honor that warrant. So if the warrants are issued, this could create a problem for especially the Israeli government, since Hamas leadership is more comfortable, I think, hiding out in the tunnels underneath Gaza right now than they are getting on aircraft.
See, they put Jake right in the middle for aesthetics.
This is purely a political move. I mean, we have yet to see whether or not the court will actually sign off on the warrants. The United States, is both the Senate and the president now have made it clear that they won't support this. And I don't know if the court wants to bring the wrath of America.
So the United States and the Senate won't support this, but it seems that other NATO countries, their allies, are supporting the arrest of Benjamin Netanyahu. All right? Or Benjamin Netan, not a J-O-O.
Down on it. That could have a detrimental impact on it. And it's also political in that, clearly the prosecutor, and I just need to remind everybody just how political the ICC is. They indicted Vladimir Putin and a senior Russian government official for, basically kidnapping Ukrainian children. And part of the evidence was, these children went missing into Russia, and then earlier this year, 160 of the children who were central to this indictment showed up in Germany.
Damn.
They were never, kidnapped. They were never kidnapped. It was purely political pressure. The ICC bowed to the pressure from Ukraine and Europe to indict, Vladimir Putin on a baseless allegation. The Israelis, of course, there are reasons to believe Israel is committing war crimes, and it's a solid indictment, but it's put under by pressure. I mean, ICC has been pressured by Europe to do something, but it can't do it purely. If they had just indicted the Israeli leaders, I'd say, okay, that's a clean indictment. But they had to indict Hamas, proving that they don't know the difference between an occupied nation and an occupier, and what the legal distinction is between the actions of the two. So this is a political indictment. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be signed off by the court, which will further undermine the credibility of the court, showing that they bowed to American pressure. But this is just a sloppy indictment, and I don't believe it's going to have any real impact. It just further erodes the credibility of the ICC.
One of the Hamas folks indicted, according to Alistair Crook, is a friend of Alistair's and is the chief negotiator for Hamas, who flies back and forth between Doha and Cairo, where the negotiations are taking place. Now, why on earth would they indict somebody like that and prevent him, and effectively, of course, he hasn't been indicted yet, if he is indicted, effectively prevent him from participating in these negotiations?
Well, remember, prior to this indictment, they killed the lead negotiator, the man who was negotiating on behalf of Hamas. The Israelis killed him, assassinated him. So the Israelis aren't interested in a negotiated settlement. They're not interested in what Hamas can bring to the table. Their stated objective is to eliminate Hamas, to destroy them militarily and politically. So they don't want to do anything that gives Hamas credibility as a political actor. So they're from the Israeli standpoint, indicting this. And you're saying, well, not Israel didn't indict them. Why did the ICC do it? Because they're not thinking, Judge. These aren't thinking people. This is purely a political indictment. You know this, and I know this, that the prosecutors have wide discretion when it comes to bringing an indictment.
Right.
And when you have somebody who is doing something in the greater good, sometimes prosecutors turn a blind eye to offenses, especially if deals can be made to have them stop doing that which offends. Here, the ICC doesn't care about the greater good. They don't care about bringing about a peaceful resolution. This is purely an indictment. The indictment of Hamas is purely a way to cover the politicized indictment of the Israeli leadership.
Earlier today in London, two judges of the British High Court authorized a final appeal for Julian Assange. Now, normally you would say, my God, how many appeals is he getting? But these same two judges a month ago ordered his extradition subject to the United States government satisfying them that if Assange is tried in the U.S., he'll get a fair trial. He'll have the full panoply of rights that an American citizen would. He can make a First Amendment defense. In my view, the First Amendment defense is absolute here, so there shouldn't even be a charge, but there is. And he wouldn't be exposed to the death penalty. Rather than sending a high-ranking official of the Department of Justice to come into court and state under oath these conditions would be met, the United States government instead had a political appointee at the embassy in London send a letter to the court, and the court dismissed the letter. It said, we don't accept this. He can file an appeal, and he can appeal on these four bases. I know you think, as I do, that his work was courageous, truthful, and there should be no prosecution whatsoever. Of all people who agree with us, Barack Obama and Eric Holder, the former president and the then attorney general, agreed with us, and they decided not to indict. Mike Pompeo talked Donald Trump into allowing Bill Barr, if you follow me, to seek an indictment from a grand jury, and it was the Trump administration that indicted Assange.
Look at
Trump
that.
himself told me personally he was going to pardon Assange. It never happened. What's your take on all this?
Well, as you said, this is a travesty of justice, first of all. Every American should pay attention, even though this is going on in a British court, and it involves an Australian citizen. This is a
Look, American courts are run by The Hague, all right, for the most part, by the British. All right, you walk into a courtroom and you're standing there before a flag that has the yellow fringes on it, which means you're under maritime law, which is the law of the sea, which is controlled by the very people he just mentioned. And then your cases is being heard by a judge and lawyers that are loyal to the bar. British Admiralty Registry. It's completely un-American, violating the Constitution. Most judges and lawyers and the law enforcement officers, bailiffs and things of that nature that enforce these codes and statutes that in direct violation of the law of the land, which is the Constitution, commit treason every day. All right. So they're doing, so what they're doing to Julian Assange, they do to American citizens all day, every day. Bring you up under charges that are basically from a foreign tribunal or a foreign treaty, which is completely and totally in violation of your civil rights, which is completely and totally in violation of the Constitution. And they are, so these law enforcement officials or people who are supposed to be representation of law are committing treason daily here in America. So don't expect Julian Assange to get any justice from, what's that scripture? If someone could put it on the comment board, I'm thinking of it. Therefore, wrong judgment goeth forth. That's that should be on every on the wall in every courthouse, and when you walk in.
about freedom of speech. It's American. This is an American Department of Justice operating under political direction to
and foreign direction.
Punish a man for embarrassing the United States.
And that's what it comes down to.
That Julian Assange has committed here. It's to embarrass the United States. And again,
and you know what, we're gonna look when and the place, that other place is on there as well. The genocide doers, the most recent colonizers and people who commit genocide. But what is happening is that the microscope, is being placed upon the Edomites. It clearly says that the wicked man will be revealed, and that's what's happening. The wicked man is being revealed, and shameful spewing is upon his glory. So let's get those. I think this Habakkuk 2:16. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the shameful spewing. There's one in Isaiah that I like too. His pomp. Habakkuk 2, and I'm going to start at verse 15. And it reads, the point is in verse 16, but I'm going to start at 15. Woe unto him, woe meaning destruction, that giveth his neighbor to drink, all right, that puttest thy bottle to him. That bottle would be democracy, because democracy brings nothing but oppression. All right, and they bottle it. They try to sell it as if it's freedom, and no, democracy is all about oppression. They are oppressing their own people with democracy. Remember, you can't even say the word. Democracy has to be followed by grenade, because democracy is implemented with great violence. With troops at the end of barrels, at the bombs being dropped at the end of tank barrels, cannons, all right, off naval warships. That's how democracy is implemented to anyone, and that not necessarily is a threat, but anyone who wants to be sovereign and rule and control and with their own currency, use their goods and services in their own land. And if the two flags that you see on the screen, if they have something to do with it, if they need or want something that's in your land, no, you're gonna accept their democracy. All right. Basically, bend over. All right. We don't care if you're married. Bend over anyway. That's the stance of these people. We don't care if you're a man. Bend over anyway. That's the stance of these two places. Real talk. Woe to him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth the bottle to him and maketh him drunken. Also, that thou mayst look upon his nakedness. Oh yeah. Thou art filled with shameful glory. Drink thou now also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of Yahweh's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be upon thy glory. So the right hand is who the world fraudulently and falsely calls Jesus Christ. And he's coming to completely annihilate these two places. All right? And he's bringing a host of heaven, and he's going to lift up a standard, his guerrilla move, his agents here on the ground. He's going to imbue them with spiritual power. So the truth of the matter is, Esau Edom is about to be a victim of his own folly, of his own pressure from above and below. But this is going to be heavenly pressure from above and below. All right. And now all that murderous colonization that they've been getting away with so long, now all of a sudden it's a shame and it's embarrassing unto them. And the nations are calling them on it. The world is calling them on it. And they don't like it. So they're going to eventually just go ahead and use their sword. Because that's what they're going to be left with. Because no one is looking at them. They're illegitimate rulership. And they're controlling the people illegitimately. While claiming to be, ordained. And they're not. They're frauds, pretending to be officials. So with that, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash, Kwam Yasharala Shalawam, Abad Babal.